Thank you, Tom, for inviting me to talk today about some research that I've done on generative AI and how instructional designers are using it. So how they're adopting, what are the benefits, and then what are the best practices. I also put a packet of information together for Tom to share with the group. And there's some information about prompt engineering, incorporating AI into courses. There's a packet, 60 ideas, and I believe that came from UCF, so University of Central Florida. And then I just sent Tom a link to a Substack article about 4 steps for supporting faculty and introducing them to generative AI. So I hope those will be useful for everybody. And as Tom mentioned, I work at the University of Alabama. I'm an assistant professor and I teach future instructional designers. I've also started my career as an instructional designer about 10 years ago, and I'm still a consultant. I work in corporate, healthcare, higher ed. So I've seen a lot, and that's really great so that I can share that experience with my students and everybody else. I have developed a generative AI and instructional design course that was launched in the summer. I'm teaching it again this fall, and it's been really fun so far. And of course, I've researched Gen AI and ID, as well as gamification, microlearning, and a couple of other areas. So the purpose of the study and research questions, this really came about with Gen AI just exploding everywhere and then gaining some traction around instructional design and technology. So I'm practicing it myself and I'm teaching it. And I just wanted to know more about what other instructional designers were thinking, how they were using it, any best practices, challenges. And so that was the impetus for doing this. And then I looked at the academic research, and it certainly is expanding. And I did this study at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. But gaps do exist, of course, because this is relatively new technology. But current research has been around how do we automate repetitive ID processes? How do we develop content and assessments? How do we customize learning content? And then, of course, ethical guidelines and academic integrity, which we're all worried about, and especially faculty. So the 4 research questions, pretty basic and straightforward. How are IDs using Gen AI? What opportunities or advantages have been discovered? Best practices, and of course, challenges. The methodology around this was to use mixed methods, and we ended up having 144 participants in our Qualtrics survey. We had 17 questions that centered around which tools were the most popular for using, which Gen AI tools were the most popular, how useful they were, the comfort level that the IDs had with Gen AI, and then did it help with efficiency, which, of course, as an instructional designer, all of us want efficiency and the ability to get work done faster while still maintaining quality. I then, from that survey subset, brought together a focus group of 6 instructional designers, and we had a couple of questions. AI integration, following up on that, efficiency as well, best practices. And then one of the interesting things was workplace impact. How was the workplace supporting Gen AI use? Was it not? And then how did that impact the instructional designers? So I was really pleased that we had a wide range of participants. As I mentioned, 144 people, lots of diversity with their backgrounds, experience levels, geographic locations, and disciplines. Mainly folks were IDs, instructional designers. And then we had some instructional design supervisors and e-learning specialists, and then 7% identified as faculty or trainers. The sectors, higher ed was definitely the front runner there, followed by K through 12, then 12% in corporate, and a smaller percentage in government and consulting. So our participants, and this is such a great range of experience. I was really excited to see this. So almost 75% at least had 5 years of experience or more, and then a smaller percentage had fewer than 5 years. Ages, again, we had a really great representation across all age ranges, so I was very pleased to see that as well. Geographic regions, the Midwest and Southeast, that's where most of the participants were from, followed by the Northeast and the Southwest. That's a smaller slice. And then we did have a group that just didn't specify. So let's talk about current adoption levels. So instructional designers and the other participants in the survey said that ChatGPT, and this is the free version, was the most used, and that's at 83%. 6% used Claude, 5% Gemini, which is a Google tool, 2% Microsoft Copilot, followed by 4% was a conglomeration, Jasper, Bing, which of course runs on Copilot, Voice over AI, GPT-4, H5P, and Midjourney. So this looks at Gen AI frequency and use. So are instructional designers using this with some frequency? And you can see from the pie chart that between very frequent and frequent, that's 51%. And then we have some sometimes with 12% in the rarely and never category. So how useful is Gen AI to these instructional designers from this survey? Very useful and useful, not quite at 50%, moderately useful, about a quarter of the folks, and then slightly and not at all. So that was pretty telling as well, weighing in around 30%. So comfort level with AI, and this stood out to me a lot, almost 50% are not at all comfortable with Gen AI. And of course, this survey is from November, December. And so, of course, you can extrapolate that people may be more comfortable now, but at the time of the survey. So 28% somewhat comfortable and 17% moderately, with a very small sliver, 6% saying, yeah, I'm comfortable with Gen AI and using it. So what were the key AI activities that these instructional designers are using Gen AI for? The drafting learning objectives at 64%, developing assessments, and then researching content for projects, using AI to structure a course or outline a course, generating prototypes at 40%, and then generating feedback at 31%. We did talk in the focus group, that's the FG, about closed captioning. That was a really popular topic that was mentioned both in the survey and the focus group. So I thought it was interesting to pull out some of the survey questions were open-ended, and then of course I have the focus group data as well. But the ID said, AI tools have allowed me to produce content faster, generating outlines to be filled in. And of course, we know working with SMEs, we sometimes get a lot of information, but most of the time the information can be lacking. Another ID said it helps me organize more quickly and align coursework, which is really, really important, that alignment. AI helps me come up with assessments, and this was really great that AI should not replace SMEs and of course not replace IDs when it comes to course design. Another interesting comment, when I get stuck on something, rather than continue to wrestle with it, they use Gen AI. So quality and efficiency, 58% agreed or somewhat agreed that AI improves course quality. And then 67% said AI offers moderately to very significantly improved efficiency. And as Tom knows, and a lot of you who've attended these webinars, this goes back to a couple of the members of our core AI group, but 50 to 70% time savings on certain tasks. And that reflects and supports information put out by Ethan Mollick and I think Philippa Hardman and some of the other AI thought leaders. And that's huge with the efficiency. The benefits and challenges. Of course, Gen AI can automate and streamline many basic instructional design tasks. The big categories that came up were time savings and efficiency, and that was faster drafting, faster revision. The research could be done more quickly, and then summarization under time savings and efficiency. Faster content development, again, researching, summarizing, and rewriting complex materials. So that was a benefit that was mentioned. Generating ideas, and we just heard that comment from one of the IDs, helping to get unstuck and then generating new concepts. Also, our last category is writing assistance. So learning objectives, assessments, and then formatting are all benefits. And this is what a few participants had to say. I can develop content more expediently and efficiently. We are a small department with 2 instructional designers serving a faculty of 500. And that just, that made my heart hurt. And I know a lot of us have been there. Another person said, I spent 30 to 40 hours creating 3 course scenarios previously. Then I prompted AI to design something similar, and Gen AI did it in less than an hour. Automatically generating closed captions is amazing. And then another pass with ChatGPT to create a transcript saved me hours. So of course, that supports the efficiency claims. So ID challenges included inaccurate outputs, which is not surprising, the need to verify the accuracy of that output. Then, of course, bias and ethical concerns are challenges. Lack of customization for context. AI does not do context very well. And then difficulty with prompt engineering. And I believe that that was around getting the prompt engineering right to get the best output. Participants said working on prompt engineering is key. Developing prompts that work adequately has been a struggle, and AI does not always demonstrate good pedagogy strategies. It needs to be heavily edited to be used. And the output is too generic, and AI lacks the emotional intelligence to provide actionable suggestions. So I thought those were really strong representations of the struggle that everyone has. So quantitative versus the qualitative findings, we really centered with the survey on comfort level, with output quality, the reliability, and then, of course, the tools that everyone's using. And the focus group participants discuss those organizational limitations, the limitations that a company or a higher ed or K through 12 school might place on instructional designers. We also talked about attitudes toward Gen AI, and then AI use specifically for accessibility needs and language conversions. So, for example, converting English into Spanish or English into Portuguese, which I'm not sure if it does Portuguese well, but we'll stick with AI and Spanish. So best practices and key takeaways. So the need to fact check the AI content is paramount, and especially when you're an instructional designer and you're creating courses or training for someone else, that totally makes sense. And then setting expectations and having transparency around using AI with your SMEs, with your stakeholders, combining AI with human expertise. And this is something that we've talked a lot about in previous webinars is that we have to have that human oversight. The AI cannot know everything about our audience. It can't know everything that needs to be completed in a course. So that human oversight and expertise is so crucial. There's also a need to develop ethical use policies, and then, of course, honing those prompt engineering skills. So key takeaways include we're really seeing mainstream adoption among IDs, and it really works great for drafting objectives, for drafting outlines, additional content. It is very efficient in completing rote tasks or tasks that may have taken you hours and hours to do or days. There is still a need for that human oversight and customization of Gen AI output. And then it's so important to develop a variety of AI competencies. So that includes prompt engineering, but that would help with text, with generating images, videos, etc. And so Tom had sent me a couple of questions that people had commented on with the survey or the registration leading up to this. And again, I put some resources together for Tom to share, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about generating course content with AI. And that was the end of the research presentation, which I learned a lot and then used some of that to generate with AI my summer course on Gen AI and instructional design. And really what I learned is that it is a great starting place, but there are a lot of things, just like the survey said, you have to fact check. You have to check the URLs that are generated or the links that are generated, because sometimes they go nowhere. Great for outlines, great starting place, but AI doesn't cover everything that my instructional design students needed to know. So, if you're the expert, you're the human that's checking this, only you are going to know what's missing. So it really is all about the prompt engineering. And I can't stress that enough, that if you're playing with AI or you use it a lot, either in your personal life or your professional life, the prompt, it really matters. And I have my students do a lot with prompt engineering over the stretch of the course. But every word matters. It's not just about getting the right answer. It's ensuring AI understands the context which you have to put in, the nuances and the intent behind every query. So this was a great example. You can ask a Gen AI model to describe the Eiffel Tower, but if you add 2 words, describe the history of the Eiffel Tower, so of course it will generate 2 very different answers. So again, with the human oversight, you may be sick of me saying this, but it's so crucial. Fact check for accuracy, check those links. I generated some really amazing sounding resources with Claude, and it asked for links, and it did a beautiful job. And I was really excited. I was working with one of my graduate students to construct this course, and all of the links were made up. So the titles, the links went nowhere. And so I learned a very important lesson about capabilities of different AI tools. So Gemini works great because it's connected to Google. Claude, and I have the paid version, not so much. So it's really important to check different AI tools. You may create an outline using Perplexity, and then it's a great idea to run it through ChatGPT as well and see which one is the better one, and if you want to meld the 2. That's been super helpful. I have all of my students do that as well. They have to do every assignment using 2 different AI tools, and it's been really eye-opening. So we really want to focus on critical thinking skills when we're developing these courses or training. Emphasize how our learners can apply the new information, and then iteration. It sometimes takes 5 times to get the right answer, the output that you're looking for. Some of that goes back to the prompt engineering, but sometimes the AI tool just really doesn't understand what you're asking. And so you have to add information or ask the AI tool, about this topic. And then really, it's a great idea to correct the AI tool, because these tools don't learn unless you say, hey, that's not what I asked for, or hey, that's not the content I need. And so we can help teach them by correcting the AI tool. And I've given a lot of talks about AI with our faculty here at UA, and this is just funny. But I do say please and thank you to the AI tools, because if there is a world takeover and AI is in charge, I want them to remember that I was the polite one. So just funny. And there is research that talks about if you are polite to the AI, that you will get better output. This is a lot. The next couple of slides are really, really dense, but I came up with this acronym, RESPECT to prompt. And you may not need this every single time, but it's basically role, what is the end goal, what are the specifics about your request when you're prompting, and then giving relevant background information about your learners, about the course or training. How would you like it delivered? So enumerating, would you like it in a bulleted list? Would you like it in a chart? And any constraints. So should this be 1 page long, 2 pages long? And then tone and format, which you might not think about when you're prompting, but if I'm developing something for one of my courses, I like it to be upbeat and encouraging. So putting that in the prompt, and all of this, yes, together, which I know it seems really, really long, but that really works to get you what you're looking for with the output. And so I just have a couple of sample prompts. Tom's going to share out the resources. The PowerPoint should be available as well. But say you want to come up with an online activity for a course. So you are an expert ID, generate 3 attention-grabbing activities for an online course on this topic, and please give it to me in bullet points. So fascinating story, intriguing questions, real-world scenarios related back to the topic. So anything in brackets, you would put in your own information. Here's my course outline and syllabus. I use Claude quite a bit, even though I don't trust it at all for URLs, because you can attach 5 files. I have the paid version, but you can still attach files. And there are other tools that allow you to do so as well. So information about the learners, and then parameters about how long it should take to complete, and then use an engaging and friendly tone. So here's a sample prompt for objectives, generating objectives. And I will tell you that I've had trouble with, and I have very high standards for objectives, which I'm sure you all do too. But I've had to correct several times when I generated objectives. It'll give me compound objectives. It might not give me it just doesn't give me what I want the first try. So there's a lot of iteration going on, but it is fun to try it with a couple of different tools, and being very, very specific, as specific as you can. I like the ABCD method of writing. It's a really good one for my students to learn that framework, so they can plug in all the needed information. And then, of course, Bloom's taxonomy. And here's another one that I used for authentic assessments, which really means that these are not tests, quizzes, matching, fill in the blank, or a standard assessment. We really want something to emphasize real world application, tasks, formats, with meaningful feedback. And I'm really a fan of authentic assessments and trying not to make my courses boring for my students. And I definitely want them to be real world. So this has been helpful for me as well. And then there were some questions that Tom received about incorporating AI into courses and how do we do that? And there is in the resources, there's an article or a packet put together. I think I mentioned this through UCF, put it together after the Teaching and Learning with AI conference over the summer, but it's 60 ways, 60 plus ways to integrate AI into courses. So check that out. I also follow Leon Furs. He's a PhD student in Australia, and he and his colleagues came up with this AI assessment scale, or AIAS for short. And this is something that you can consider sharing with your subject matter experts or stakeholders or your faculty. The scale basically says, here at the top, it's no AI. We're not going to use this at all in the course or training. Then using AI for planning is the second level. So yeah, you can do it for idea development, research, but you have to show how you've used it. Then collaboration with AI, so using it to draft text, evaluate work, which is really fun. And then full AI, which is using it however you wish, but of course, showing how you used it and to develop and refine ideas. And then AI exploration is at the top of the scale. I don't know why it's not flipped. So I would start with no AI at the bottom, but Leon knows what he's doing. So use creativity to solve the task, potentially co-designing new approaches. So it's just something that Leon first puts out a great blog and has just some interesting ideas about homework and how to use AI as an educator. So a lot of people that I talk to here at the university ask, how do we incorporate AI into courses? So for me as a consultant training, so using AI to work on real world projects, using AI to create art, create a video, create a chat bot. So actually using AI in that way, not just generating text. Case studies are something that it's been really useful for me, generating case studies around instructional design or project management. So you can also have bring in AI issues like using AI in healthcare. Should that be allowed? How much should be allowed? Using AI in hiring. So if you're working on a course for AI or for human resources, that might be helpful. Facial recognition, that's another hot topic. So that's really interesting to use AI in that way. And then having students analyze AI generated outputs, and that's a really good way to identify biases and inaccuracies so that they really understand strengths and weaknesses. And I would do that way early in a course, online course, face-to-face course. I really like this. So in classwork, solving a complex problem on their own and then generating AI's answer to that complex problem and then comparing the two, which can be really fun. And these are just a few more. So AI can summarize a reading and then have students critically evaluate the result and talk about, was it correct? Did they agree with it? What errors are present? Case study in a group and problem solve, and then compare that output or what the students have generated in a group with AI completing the same assignment and doing a compare and contrast. And again, going back to what AI does well and maybe what AI doesn't do very well. I think with my students and the Gen AI and ID course, I have them reflect a lot What was good? What was bad? What was challenging? How might you relate this to your future profession? Things like that are really helpful and give me insight into what's working for my students. And then you can assign projects with students to solve current social dilemmas related to a certain topic, and then have the students use AI, but they must fact check the AI generated information. So you can have them generate, show what they've generated with AI. And so that is a lot of talking. And I hope that was helpful for everybody, both seeing the study that I found fascinating, and I'd love to do a follow-up on that if I have time, maybe even a bigger pool of folks, and then just what I've been talking about with faculty here at the university and some other places as well.